This video is brought to you by Sandmark. Today we're looking at the M2 Pro 14-inch MacBook Pro. Now this is the latest version of last year's M1 Pro MacBook Pro, a laptop that I consider to be the greatest Mac of all time. The new M2 Pro features the same stunning and functional design with a wide range of ports and excellent cooling. As well as this, we get the best-in-class 120Hz Pro Motion display, while of course adding the even more powerful M2 Pro chip, and also brings even longer battery life and other refinements. If you're thinking of buying the M2 Pro, well, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'm going to be covering everything you need to know about the M2 Pro, as well as taking a look at how it compares to last year's M1 Pro. As always, I will leave all the purchase links down in the description. As always guys, let me start off by telling you my spec and why I chose it. So I decided to go for the M2 Pro 14-inch MacBook Pro. Now I chose the 14-inch screen size as I find the 14-inch size to be the perfect overall laptop screen size, striking that great balance between portability and also functionality. Now other than that, I got the base model, which will come with that M2 Pro chip, a 512GB SSD and 16GB of RAM. Now this will come in at a price of $1,999 or £2,149. Now on the machine, I did make one upgrade, and that is the SSD, which I upgraded this time from 512GB all the way up to 2 terabytes. Now this is a pretty expensive upgrade. In fact, this will cost $600 or £600, but as someone who edits videos every day, editing on the internal drive is faster than any possible external drive, so this will save me time every day, and 2 terabytes gives me lots of headroom for lots of YouTube videos. Now, when it came to the color, I chose to go for the silver model. Now, I've mentioned this already in my previous M1 Pro MacBook Pro review, but if you haven't seen it yet, I chose silver because I find the silver color to hold up better over time compared to the space gray. Now, I've owned space gray Macs in the past, and what I've found is that by the palm rest from repeated use, you can get a little bit of color fade. And this is something that is less likely to happen on the silver model because the silver color is much more close to the natural color of the aluminum, which is of course what these Macs are made of. So this is something to bear in mind when you're speccing out your machine. By the way guys, if you are enjoying this video so far, a like on this video and a sub to the channel would be incredible. Now let's take a look at the design of the M2 Pro. Now last year's M1 Pro brought a massive major redesign that we also see now in the new M2 Pro, and I think we're going to be seeing this design for the next 3 to 4 years, so it won't get outdated anytime soon. And after using both the M1 Pro and now the new M2 Pro, I can say with absolute confidence that this is the best designed MacBook of all time, and here's why. First, I absolutely love the more squared off and modern look that the M2 Pro has, and this design is also crucial as it does allow for better cooling. Now, this model is a little bit thicker, but this does allow for better airflow and bigger fans inside. Speaking of which, this laptop will operate completely silently, even under pressure. In my weeks of testing the new M2 Pro, I can tell you that I have never heard the fans ramp up, and this is something that is really, really great. And at the same time, though, the computer manages to stay very cool to the touch, so it is comfortable to type on and even have on your lap while, say, you are video editing, gaming, or doing any kind of graphic intensive task. And this design also creates more room for more ports, so very similar port selection compared to last year's M1 Pro. However, there are a few small upgrades, and the first here has to do with the HDMI port. So we still have a full-size HDMI port, great to quickly hook up to a projector or display without the need for any adapters or dongles. And now on the new M2 Pro, the HDMI port is actually upgraded to HDMI 2.1, and this will allow you to support up to 8K displays or 4K displays at higher refresh rates. I like to see this as this is a form of future-proofing, meaning you'll be able to support the latest and greatest of the displays in the years to come. We also get the SD card slots. As a content creator, I use this every day. I found it to be just as great on the M2 Pro as it was on the M1 Pro. And at the same time, we still have 3 USB-C Thunderbolt ports. Of course, these are very fast and versatile ports. We also get a high impedance headphone port. This is great because this can power even more power-hungry headphones. Think, for example, professional grade open ear style headphones if you are a music creator or even a video editor. This will be good to have. And then the last port that we get is MagSafe. Now, if you don't know, MagSafe is Apple's magnetic charging standard, and I love this feature. You guys already heard me talk about it on the M1 Pro, but it's just as great here. Basically, what this means is your cable is not only easy to plug in, but if, say, anyone or anything trips over your cable, it will automatically detach without dragging the entire multiple $1,000 laptop off the table. I also like that the cable is braided, and on the cable, you actually also get an LED light which shows on both sides, which will show you the charge status. I've mentioned this in my previous M1 Pro MacBook Pro review, but it is just as true here. For me, it is really great to see Apple prioritize functionality when it came to designing the laptop, as opposed to prioritizing thinness, as they've done in the past. The M2 Pro now also adds support for Wi-Fi 6E. Now, there won't be many Wi-Fi 6 routers out right now, but these computers can easily last 5+ years, more longevity in a sec. But it is good to know that with these MacBooks, you're equipped with the latest and greatest Wi-Fi standards, meaning it can support those best Wi-Fi speeds for many years to come. And then taking a look inside the M2 Pro, we can look at the keyboard, and I find this to be an absolute joy to type on. It is reliable and comfortable, giving a nice tactile click with every key that you press. And the keys are also stable so that they don't wobble or anything like that. And I've had no reliability issues whatsoever. And then looking further down, just as great as the keyboard is the trackpad. Now, Apple has done trackpads really well. I think they do them better than anyone else. This trackpad here is big, it is accurate, and we get that nice smooth glass texture, which is just absolutely great to use. And now let's take a look at the display. Now, the M2 Pro features a liquid Retina ProMotion XDR display. And what this means is that we get a display with nice rounded corners, really thin bezels going all the way around, and it is also 120 Hz refresh rate, meaning it is super smooth. Now, to put this difference into context, comparing 120 Hz as opposed to 60 Hz that you'll find on older Macs or say the MacBook Air, it's kind of like comparing a non-Pro iPhone's display to a Pro iPhone's display. Everything you do, whether it be scrolling on web pages or switching between apps, is just going to be extra smooth on the M2 Pro. The display is also super bright, so it's comfortable to see even in well-lit offices or outdoors, say on a cloudy day. Colors are also super accurate, and you get really high contrast, which is especially important if you're a creative professional like me and do any kind of grading work in photos or videos or even graphic design. Now, before we talk about the performance and longevity of the M2 Pro, it is important to protect this great new design. And a great way to do so in style is with the leather collection from Sandmark. For day-to-day commuting, I love to use the leather sleeve. I like how convenient it is to take my Mac in and out, whilst also knowing it is protected from scratches and other items in my bag. The sleeve comes in black and brown and is made from a full-grain leather that is going to last for years. Every time I hold my Mac in this sleeve, you get a real sense of quality and craftsmanship, both from the supple feel of the leather to finer touches like the really nice stitching on the edges of the sleeve. And then for bigger days of travel, nothing beats the all-in-one practicality of a case. Made from the same premium full-grain leather, it is also available in 2 colors. And this case has it all, from the convenient handle on the top to the front pocket, which you can use for your chargers and other cables. I especially like that Sandmark went the extra mile by adding extra thick padding and a water-resistant zipper and super soft interior to further protect your Mac. This premium leather sleeve and of course the leather case are the perfect accessories to add functionality and protection and style to your Mac. To learn more about the leather collection from Sandmark, be sure to click the link in the description. So far, we've looked at the design as well as the display, and these are great features of the M2 Pro, but are also very similar to last year's M1 Pro. Now, the biggest area where the M2 Pro sets itself apart from last year's model is with the performance, of course, featuring that new M2 Pro chip. The M2 Pro comes with 2 more GPU cores and 2 more CPU cores. Now, this sounds great, but the question is, what does this really mean in real-world use? Well, to put it in one sentence, the M2 Pro absolutely flies. Running and editing 4K timelines in Final Cut Pro every day is truly effortless. I can import 4K footage, add multiple layers of color grading and color correction, then render out all those clips and export them faster than ever. This computer always remains snappy and keeps up with my workflow, and this saves me time every day, week, and month. But to give you an idea of how I use the M2 Pro, let me give you a look at my average daily workflow. So first, I'll have Final Cut Pro open, rendering my latest YouTube video, typically a 4K project. At the same time, I'll be editing my latest thumbnail for that video. This will be a raw image in Lightroom, on top of having the usual Mail, Safari, Chrome, and Documents and messaging apps open in the background. And all of these apps and processes run smoothly without a hitch. And at the same time, the computer does so completely silently. But the question is, how does the M2 Pro compare to last year's M1 Pro? Now, I do have a more thorough comparison video coming up, comparing the two models in more detail, but to give you an idea, here's the results of 4 tests I ran. So first, running Geekbench 5, we can see both in the single core performance as well as the multi-core performance, we get around a 10% improvement. And then when looking at the startup time and login time to log into my account, I see around a 20% improvement on average. And then looking at some app-specific tests, we have Lightroom, in which I exported 100 raw photos and saw around an 8% improvement. This is a relatively small improvement. This could also, however, be due to the fact that Lightroom may not yet be optimized for the M2 Pro. And then looking at my all-time favorite app, or well, at least the app I spend most of my days in, Final Cut Pro, we export a 15-minute video, a 4K video, and for this I saw around an 18% improvement. This is pretty good. So as you can see, looking at the numbers, we get around a 15 to 20% improvement in performance overall when comparing the M2 Pro versus last year's M1 Pro. Now, to put this performance difference into context, I want to make clear that the M1 Pro is still a very capable chip. So basically you're going from a already great chip to a slightly even greater chip. This performance difference will not be enough reason to go from the M1 Pro to the M2 Pro. However, the difference is not insignificant if you're cross-shopping and deciding between the two models. And the same can be said for the battery life. So the M2 Pro can easily last me all day with around 9 to 11 hours of screen on time, running at max brightness and having 10 apps open. And this, I would say, is around 1 to 1.5 more hours compared to last year's M1 Pro. Again, not a massive difference, but also not insignificant. And then to further add to the overall experience on the M2 Pro, the webcam, microphones, and speakers are also great. All right, so this is a quick audio and video test on the webcam of the M2 Pro, as well as the 3-mic studio mic array. Let me know how I look and how I sound. Now, I want to talk about longevity and repairability. This Mac, like any big investment, should be able to last you for quite some time. So I think it's important not just to look at how this Mac performs today, but also how it's going to hold up over the next years. Now, Apple is known for providing very long longevity with many years of software support to their products, not just their Macs, but also their Apple Watches and of course their iPhones. And I think the M2 Pro MacBook Pro with its latest processor will be no different. I would expect anywhere from 5 to 6 years of software support and new features and updates, and this I would say is around 1 to 2 years longer than last year's M1 Pro MacBook Pro. So if you then take the relatively high price point, but then divide this over the many years that the computer can last, this becomes a more reasonable long-term investment. Over the 5 to 7 years that this computer can last, I would say there is one component that will likely need replacing sometime during that period, and that of course is the battery. So how does this work? Well, this does depend on which region or part of the world you're in, but looking at the US and the UK, Apple does provide a battery replacement for $199 or 199 pounds, and this includes the component cost as well as the labor cost. And this I think is pretty good. It's important for Apple to provide this level of support, and this I think helps ensure that long lifespan that this computer is capable of. Now, it's also important to note that Apple uses highly recyclable aluminum for the body of the computer and even offer to recycle your Mac for free in the future. To me, it is important to see these environmental considerations to be made. However, unfortunately, like on many laptops these days, the RAM as well as the SSD are soldered to the board, meaning they are non-upgradable. So when you spec your Mac, when you first buy it, make sure you spec it to match your workflow, as you won't be able to upgrade this down the road. Okay, so who is the M2 Pro MacBook Pro 14-inch for? Well, this computer, I think, is perfect for anyone who wants maximum portability and maximum performance in one laptop. I think no other laptop across the entire industry even comes close to the all-around package that the M2 Pro provides. The M2 Pro delivers in all key areas, from its high-quality design, incredible display, long battery life, and amazing performance. However, last year's M1 Pro MacBook Pro shares many of the same qualities. I would say if you want 90% of the laptop of the M2 Pro, can get it for a good price, say $200 or $300 off, the M1 Pro is a pretty good moment to save some cash. At the same time though, if you want truly the best all-around and most complete laptop that money can buy, I would say go for the M2 Pro. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions at all about the M2 Pro or the rest of the Mac lineup. And if you haven't seen them yet, I highly recommend watching my M1 Pro MacBook Pro 1 year later review, as well as my more thorough M1 Pro versus M2 Pro comparison video. As always guys, I will leave the purchase links down in the description. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.